Hey y'all. I'm hoping everybody slept really well last night. I had a really good night's sleep. I'm enjoying kind of sleeping in a little bit and getting used to doing that. So hopefully we'll go back to school soon so I don't get too used to it. But yesterday I read to y'all The Legend of Rock, Paper, Scissors. So today I wanted to read to y'all in honor of St. Patrick's Day. I had ordered a bunch of books on folk tales from Ireland, actually. Like this one, Fiona's Luck. That one's really good. Tim O'Toole and the Wee Folk. That one's funny. Granuel, the Pirate Queen. That one's really good too. So I had ordered several of those, and we were going to read Jamie O'Rourke and the Big Potato, and really talk about folk tales from different cultures. And so you get to see that it's not just from America that these authors write these stories. They come from all over the world. There's Chinese folk tales, there's Japanese folk tales, there's African folk tales, like Anansi, the one some of you have read in your guided reading groups. And so these happen to come from Ireland. And so since St. Patrick's Day was Tuesday, I thought these would be great for us this week. Just to celebrate that, we're going to eat some green food and stuff. So hopefully you got to do that at home. So today I wanted to read to you Tim O'Toole and the Wee Folk. This is a really funny book, and you'll find that a lot of Irish folktales have, you guessed it, it's probably a leprechaun. Very good. So a lot of the Irish folktales have leprechauns in them, and so this is just one of those. And it's been, like I said, it's been told over and over again. So the story has changed, and it's probably exaggerated a lot, kind of like some of the videos I put online yesterday with Paul Bunyan and Johnny Appleseed and all those myths that I put on there too. So you'll see that these things have changed over time, and they're not the same as they originally were because people wanted them to seem grandeur. They wanted them to seem bigger than life. So this is one of those examples. So, an Irish tale told and illustrated by Gerald McDermott. Pardon me if I stumble on some of these Irish words. I'm trying. I read it a couple of times last night, hoping I wouldn't. In a little cottage on a little hill at the end of a little lane in Dongle lived Tim O'Toole and his wife Kathleen. Tim and Kate were so poor they had not a penny or a potato between them. Their children ate porridge for supper. Even the mice were thin from want of food, and the cat wouldn't bother with chasing the creatures. So you'll see a lot of times in these stories that did you even see it? That the characters are poor and they need things, and so that's just a great way to start. Their neighbors, who were poor themselves, avoided Tim, for they thought he would bring them bad luck. Things went from bad to worse until one day there was not a crumb or a drop left in the house. "Tim O'Toole," said Kate, "I can stand no more of being poor, and you sit around, you're bemoaning your fate. You must go out and find work like a decent man and take us out of this poverty." Kathleen kept after him, and the next morning Tim set out to see if he could earn some wages. What are wages? Have you thought about that before? Right? Wages. Think about that. We talked about that with the economics unit we did. Tim O'Toole traveled the length of the country, knocking at every door, inquiring at every farm, trying to eke out a few coppers for a day's work. But there was no work to be had. Finally, when Tim was tired and hungry and could walk no farther, he stopped and lay down to rest in the cool green clover at the side of the road. Clovers. No sooner had he stretched out than he heard the faint sound of merry piping and littling voices raised in song and laughter. The string music was coming from a little hollow in the side of the hill. Tim crept up the hollow and peered over the edge. There below him was a troop of wee folk, laughing and singing and carrying on. Well, Tim knew for sure his luck had changed, For it is well known that whoever spies the wee folk in the light of day can demand their treasure. Suddenly the music stopped. The little merrymakers were astonished when they looked up and saw Tim peering down at them. Hand over your gold, bellowed Tim, trying to be fierce, and you'll come no harm. Have mercy on us, Tim O'Toole, begged the leader of the little people. There was a smile on his lips, and he tried not to laugh. You caught us fair and square, so we'll see that you're richly rewarded. Then there was hurrying and scurrying in the hollow below, and soon the wee folk handed up a little gray goose. Here you are, Tim. A goose that lays golden eggs. Go home straight away and tell not a soul, and you and your Kate shall never want for more. Okay, I didn't check on this. My computer's going to die. Give me 1 second. So while we are taking a pause for just a second, I want you to be thinking about what is it that the character wants. You know, what is it that the character needs? Because that will affect what the character does. So the character wants what? Obviously, they want money, right? He wants his wife to quit nagging him and for him to have enough money to support his family, right? So that's what he wants. His overall goal is that. And then eventually, when he gets that, that will be a positive thing, right? Hopefully. But what have we found with people who get what they want, right? Think about John Midas in The Chocolate Touch. What did he get? And he ended up not wanting it, you know? So a lot of times in these folktales and fables, the characters will get what they want and then not be happy still, right? So thinking about the morals, the lessons we can learn from that is really important as we read the story. Alright, sorry. So, Tim started for home carrying the goose and feeling very pleased with himself. Soon darkness overcame him and he stopped at a farmhouse to ask if he could stay the night. The couple who owned the farm, the Magoons, let him in and sat him down by the fire. Tim began to boast about his great and good fortune and the little gray goose that lays golden eggs. That night, while Tim was asleep in the loft, the Magoons decided they could use just such a goose as this. Quietly, they exchanged it for their own. So in this one, you always have somebody who's a little bit sneaky, right? It was kind of dishonest of them, right? Tim was none the wiser for it, and in the morning, he went happily homeward, carrying the goose he thought would bring him great wealth. When he got home, he put the bird upon the table. "Is this all you have to show for being gone for 3 days?" asked Kathleen. "But, darling, this is no ordinary goose," said Tim. "This one lays golden eggs." Well, the short of it is, they waited a long, long time, and you might guess the goose did no such thing. "They've cheated me," howled Tim, and he marched off in a terrible temper to give the little people what for. Then, when he finally reached their hiding place, he was still angry. "Golden eggs it is," cried Tim to the wee folk. "That goose you gave me laid no golden eggs at all." "This is curious indeed," said the startled leader. Then the little man wrinkled his nose and gave a sly smile. "Tim, wait but a moment and we'll make good your reward." I'm not good at Irish accents. I'm sorry. I tried all night. There was hurrying and scurrying in the hollow below. A moment later, the wee folk brought forth a fine linen tablecloth and spread it out in front of Tim. In the wink of an eye, it was covered in bounteous food and drink, and the likes of which he had never seen before. "Take this tablecloth home straight away, Tim O'Toole, and tell not a soul," cautioned the leader of the little ones. "Then you and your darling Kate shall never want for more." So first they had the golden goose. Now they are getting this tablecloth that just has an abundance of food that's placed upon it as they eat. Tim walked merrily toward home until darkness came on him. Again he stayed the night with the Magoons and boasted to them of his new-found fortune. The Magoons thought in good fortune indeed. While Tim slept, they slipped away the magic tablecloth and exchanged it for an ordinary one from their very own cupboard. Tim was none the wiser, and for when it reached the next day. "Kathleen, my darling," he said, "will never go hungry again." With a flourish, he spread the cloth upon the table. Well, of course, it was empty and produced not a drop or a crumb. Kathleen laughed. Tim went into a rage. "The little heathens!" he shouted. In a flash, Tim was out the door and on the road again. So he's mad again. But my question for you is he following the rules? Like, did it seem like the rules that the wee folk gave him, is he taking those seriously and like actually trying to do what they tell him? Let's find out. "Stand fast," Tim called down to the little hollow where the wee folk were gathered. "'Tis pleased, are you not, Tim O'Toole?" said the leader. "Could it be that the tablecloth was empty?" All the wee folk were grinning. "Indeed it was, you scoundrel," answered Tim. The wee ones began to chuckle. "And did you go directly home, as we told you?" Tim O'Toole admitted he had stayed twice the night at the Magoons. When they heard this, the little people burst into laughter. "You were a fool to trust the likes of the Magoons," said the leader. "But never mind, Tim. We've got just the thing for you." The little people brought up a strange green hat and gave it to Tim. They instructed him to boast of his magic to the Magoons and to leave the hat where they could find it. "Then we shall see," said the wee one. A third time Tim tarried at the Magoons. He proudly displayed the magic hat the wee folk had given him. Then he crawled up to the loft and pretended to sleep. He had all but laid his head upon the straw when he heard the Magoons stir below. "I wonder what sort of magic it is," said Magoon to his wife. Cautiously, he tipped the hat over. I'm going to stop there. I'll pick up with you guys tomorrow. Be sure to use the extra resources I put on the page. You knew I was going to do that. Love you. Bye.